absolutely amazing what a giant property empire is built. And all of this in only the last 5 years.
One of the biggest mistakes I make. Every properties that we have is like a golden goose. You don't really want to kill a golden goose.
Yes.
They're giving you golden eggs.
Absolutely.
And if you are someone that understands inflation being the best friend of property, then your role is to get in faster. Because OPM is a function of two directional. It's like a knife. It can help you to leverage it, but it also can cut you. Singapore is the best country, man. Best country to stay in. Politicals is very stable. And the whole building is nicely done.
Yep.
Then it can cover a portion of my mortgage. So with two landed combined, my net after CPF deduction everything, my outflow is about less than 3K.
Hey guys, welcome to our Modern Wealth podcast where we aim to empower, enrich and evolve your lives. And today we have a very, very special guest. I've known him for many years. His name is Ernie. Ernie is one of the largest co-living operators in Singapore. His company 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗍, manages over 4,000 rooms, right? And this is in Singapore alone, but his business expands across 4 different countries, right? So absolutely amazing what a giant property empire is built. And all of this in only the last 5 years. Only the last 5 years, right? So today we're going to dig into his story, find out a little bit about how he got started, and hopefully he can drop some absolute gems for you guys so you guys can evolve your own lives as well, right? So let's get started. Ernie, thank you for coming, bro.
Thank you for having me, man, buddy.
I really appreciate, bro. I know you're a very, very busy man, but
Same goes to you.
Yes. Bro, please share the audience a little bit about your company and how you got started.
No problem. So sorry buddy, my name is Ernie. So I started the educations function, which is known as 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗍. That was in 2019 December. I got started because I'm an individual who really love property investing. I started doing investing first. I didn't go to do any co-living function. I just do pure investings in residential properties, then followed by commercial and industrial. Then until to the point that I decided to say, hey, I really need an operating business. Because, with operating business as a company, when I park a property inside, I probably have a function of this thing called gear up. But before that, I don't have operating business and I can't gear up in the financial banking side.
I see.
So that was the time that triggered me and said, hey, then I need a good operating business. So that's where I decided to go into a business known as co-living.
I see.
So in 2019, I decided to find something that's really continuous on my passion to go into a vertical industry, which is property. And I started the co-living function.
Interesting. Bro, sorry, I want to just get right into the meat.
No problem.
Operating company, gearing up, right? That's a very, very key thing. Can you share a little bit about what you can do as an individual compared to somebody who actually runs an operating business and you want to actually buy property? What's the difference?
Cool, no problem. And that was something that most of the people really come forward and ask us, hey, why do you want to do that function? So one thing is this thing. Most of the people, when they want to buy alternative investment property, let's say, not residential, which is industrial and commercial, they probably use a company setup called Investment Holding Company, which is 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗍𝗆. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗍 is the best ways to go to the market fast because they depends on director and shareholders NOA, which is the income. And they will depends on the loans, how much they can borrow under the company, but guaranteed by the shareholder and directors. But when you buy a property under this 𝗙𝗿𝗍 in short, one thing is just buying a property as an investment, which is why it's an investment function. However, in property itself, there's one very strong function which allow you to take out equity loans if your property values increase. However, in 𝗙𝗿𝗍 setup, most of the bank, they don't like it. They don't support the gear up function. Gear up function meaning, let's say you bought the property $1 million. And after 3 years later, it becomes 1.4 million. So by right, you can actually take out new loans. And the new loans with the assessed amount, it becomes cash functions to a bank. But this function is called gear up. But in 𝗙𝗿𝗍, it doesn't allow.
I see.
Which is why in the end, they say, hey, Ernie, if you have an operating business, it's different. If you're operating companies that's providing good profit and loss, good balance sheet, you park the properties under here, then you are allowed to eventually gear up when the times is there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's
Wow.
give me the direction. Hey, then I don't want to just to do investing alone. I should also do a very good, solid companies from there,
I
and that's
see.
how I started my co-living function.
Interesting.
Mm.
Wow, wow, wow. This is opening up my mind quite a bit as well,
Yeah, no
because you know
problem.
I do have quite a few operating companies which I can use to acquire more to possibly gear up. So would you prefer to after 3 years sell and use that to go and buy another one, or would you prefer to, what's the difference between like selling to realize your profits versus like using the property, keeping it, and then by gearing up on the property?
No, on my personal level,
Yep.
I definitely learned much more along the journey. I would say that if I look back in the past journey, when I bought under 𝗙𝗖𝗄𝘗, I didn't know what to do. I let go all. I let go most of the property. I didn't make money out of it.
Of course.
Couple of millions.
Yep.
However, when I continued on my journey in property investing, that's probably one of the biggest mistake I make.
Wow.
Because imagine every properties that we have is like a golden goose.
Yep.
You don't really want to kill a golden goose.
Yes, of
They're
course.
giving you golden eggs.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, if you don't know what to do, then you got stuck.
Mm.
However, then when I start to do operating business and park properties under operating business, when the values grow, so the point of your questions, do I sell? Probably not at the moment. Then what I will do is, I'll probably gear up, take up some equity loans. Equity loans is debt, but debts there's interest.
Okay.
So the interest is, then how can I make this interest and make it into a good debts then?
Yep.
Because the charging mechanism might be cheaper in terms of the interest. It could be 3% or even less than that.
Okay.
But can you imagine if you take out the cash out from the gear up
Yep.
component
Yep.
and re-put into a property, give you maybe 5 to 6%? Yeah, then it does make sense. You make your debts from normal debts becomes a good debts,
I
and
see.
then you re-evaluate into assets class,
I see.
and you repeat then.
Wow.
So coming to my phase now,
Yep.
I don't really like to let go of the property anymore.
Okay.
I would love to keep it as long as I can, continues to grow it, because rental will always eventually increase because of inflation.
Okay.
Inflation is something that we can't avoid.
Yes, absolutely.
If the rental is always increasing,
Yep.
and if I'm going to take out more loans out of the property, my incremental of my rental will be able to cover my mortgage one.
Bro, I want to ask you this question.
Come.
It's very important. Sorry, we're going left, right, center, but
Please.
my mind is just, bro, we just finished the Singapore elections.
Okay.
Right? One of the biggest complaints is cost of living, right?
Oh yes.
And then one of the biggest complaints is, walao, our rentals are going up like crazy, right? You mentioned, right? Inflation, it goes up like
Yes.
crazy and all that. And then, wow, hawker center cannot survive. Wow, businesses, the gym go up so much and all that.
Yes.
Wow, landlords are very greedy and all these different things. And, this whole like push back from normal Singaporeans saying that we need rentals to come down and stuff, right? Like, what's your take on this? Like, are landlords at fault? Will the government come in to clamp down and say, hey, all of you all, you're better reduce your rent, cannot increase? Like, what's going to happen, and what's your view on this?
No problem. Probably when I share some of my comment, please don't have so much haters, okay? just personal point of view.
Tell me, like,
No right, wrong.
Yeah, sure.
If you really ask me in this angle, will people be angry that the rental is always going up? Answer, there will be a lot of people that don't like it. However, it's something that we can't avoid because the cost of living is always there, inflation is always there.
Yep.
Imagine the cost of, let's say, property are because of build-up costs, everything went up. Your reinforcement bar, your sand, your cements have to, over a period of time, because inflation costs went up.
Yep.
So you have to be back-to-back charged to the landlord have to charge back to the tenant. But there's one thing, then you need to make a decision. So if you know this thing is coming, then why don't you find ways to learn how to become a landlord instead? Instead of looking into the problem, then returns the anger, find ways to play a landlord game instead of probably the ones that are always paying the expenses.
Definitely, right.
So it's really mindset shifting first. But can we avoid it? We can't avoid it. My day is going up every time by 10 cents every year. But this 10 cent incremental is probably about 10% every time.
Easy,
Yeah, it's not just the normal inflation. It's much faster. But property, there's one good thing about property.
Tell me.
Property has the best friend, which is known as inflation.
I see.
And using as a function one thing called the rules of 72, it gives you an index. Rule of 72, do it in stocks. It depends on how much you ROI, right? 72 divided by ROI, they give you the number of years to double up.
Double,
But same thing, in property, they use 72, you divide it by the inflation, they give you the number of years to double up your property.
I see.
So if you have the crystal ball that this thing is going to move up at the price, then why not join the vegans, learn how to go into this journey, and let the inflation play the game. And then you enjoy it as a landlord.
Have we come to a point where, obviously, if you bought in 2020, 𝗕𝗿liche𝗺𝗀 lah, right?
Yes,
your, your condos, your landed properties and all
Yes.
that. Like, I was a recipient of that myself, right? I, bought at a very good time, made millions of dollars, which is great, right? But has it gone like a little bit too fast? Like there's been cooling measures and all that. So will it slow down? Like what's your overall view in regards to the landscape, let's say in the next 5-10 years for properties?
In terms of property pricing, whether the cooling measure hits in, I think one thing that the latest cooling measure, which is it definitely hit the CCR zone because of foreigners they are able to buy, but their so-called their ABSD
Doesn't
went
make
up so
sense,
much.
right?
Yeah, it went up so much.
Yeah.
So CCR probably one areas foreigners are not being attracted to buy at this
Foreigners
moment.
wouldn't buy, right? It doesn't make sense, right?
But
Or are
I wouldn't
foreigners
think
coming
that.
in to throw
But I
money?
wouldn't think that it will be forever. It is a journey that eventually it depends on which country still becomes the best positionings to attract all the foreigners people to come in.
Okay.
All the high net worth people who come in still be putting efforts. It is always a journey that, let's say, if I look back since all the crises, big crises, like 1984, the oil crisis, then 97 financial crisis, 2008, and even 2019 COVID. But if you take a look at the trend patterns, the trend patterns always come in when the crisis hit. There is probably about 6 to 9 months later, probably start to dip a fair bit.
Yep.
When they dip, right, this dip don't usually last more than like 1.5 years. Within like 1 year each to 1.5 years period, what happened? The price moved to the next higher height. And it continues to move. So this is a trend patterns that I see for the 4 major crises that I see in terms of the patterns. And if this thing is still ongoing, I don't think that Singapore growth rates have ended. There's still so many rooms to do. We are still attracting so many talents coming to Singapore. Still one of the best country to stay in. Politicals is very stable. I don't think you will probably end short within a short period of time.
I see.
Price will still move, but probably slower as compared to 2021, 2020 periods. That's probably slow down a fair bit, but it will still move. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, I give you this question. I don't know whether you have an answer for this.
No problem.
If you are the government, if you are a politician, and the residents come to you and say, I cannot afford, my children cannot afford, it is too, I understand it's a mindset thing, right? But what can they possibly do, or what is possible that the government can do to really make it more affordable, or is it going to be a problem that cannot be solved?
On a personal level, being a government positioning, I always think that it's not easy for them. But are they doing good enough on a personal level? I feel that they did pretty solid stuff.
10 years MOP and all that, right?
They really truly wants to, because the majority of the folks of people, the feedback is, cost of living is going to be high. Property price is going to be high, which is why the MOP 10 years, the premium, the plus and all these things, they start to stack the longer period of time. But if you take a look at what the governments are really pushing, they are really listening to the feedback. And they really push it through and say, okay, we do our part. We probably want to curb the pricing so that everybody are able to have a public housing at least. But take a look. Whatever journey that they are going to continues to build, there will be bounds of people that are keen to be property investors and all this thing. And they will continue to buy more properties. The wealthier folks will continue to build their wealth.
That's true.
Because once they understand a certain level of financial literacy, they will be able to do certain level of executions that probably most of the people feel that it's impossible. But actually, if you turn to look at the conversation, everything is really possible. You just have to break it down, dissect it down, and say, hey, then what are the small baby steps I should do? You take small baby steps, you will probably achieve the results that you want and start building your assets class.
Interesting.
That's really what I feel about it. Government really doing really a good solid job right there. This is what I really feel about it.
I see. Okay, amazing. Thank you for your point of view, brother. Okay, so dude, let's get back to sorry for the detour. I want to talk about you, bro. So again, let's get back. So you talked about small baby steps.
Yes.
For the vast majority of people who are watching, they're like, oh, allow Ernie, 4,000 and everything. Like, what is the baby steps I can take to, start my journey. I want to build a property empire, brother, right? But what are the first, baby steps I can take? What is the starting point that, every person should start off? Let's just say, for example, a 25-year-old guy is here, starting out his career, right? Starting out his career and starting to get a salary with some CPF and whatever else. What are some first steps that you will encourage him to take?
So I look back, when I go back to much younger version of Ernie. So what are the steps that I did? The very first things that I do is I find the best leverage, which is to do a lot of educations, is learn through a lot of programs. So this is one of the fastest things that I learn. No regret in my life.
Sure.
And every year, even now, my wife and I, we commit 4 learnings every year.
Wow, amazing.
No matter what phase we are in,
we
committed our learning. We travel overseas to learn just for 7 days, 6 days, 5 days. Whichever that help us in 1% improvement, it does help us in compounding the results. So if I have to go back to a much younger version, 25 years old, first thing, find the best ways to find the best leverage in learning.
Okay.
Learn from people that really done it. Ask them how do they do it. Ask them, don't listen to just the rosy story. You're going to ask them, hey, what is your pitfall first? Hey, what are the things that you did wrong? That's the real things that you should ask. Because those are the real experience that you want to dig out. All the rosy story, actually online can find one. Everybody talk about the good thing.
Sure.
They don't really talk about what are the challenges.
Absolutely.
So age 25, first thing, go and learn stuff first. Then when you start to learn things, they will break down on different strategy. Example, most of the people talk about, let's say, going to properties. They talk about, hey, you got to work hard, save hard, then you have enough money, then you start investing in property. To me, this is not the right approach. It is going to be too slow. By the time you save enough, the property will not wait for you. It's like a moving goalpost.
Interesting.
You thought you hit the goal line already, and then you shift another 100 meters away. Then it's like, hey, never end one. So if this method is not going to help, or anyone that's listening now is like hitting you in your heart, feeling that way, then probably the methods don't work already. Then you probably have to go and understand then what are the things that I need to do to move faster. Yeah, so there are strategies that can really look into it on moving it faster to achieve the goal.
So give me 2 examples of what I can actually do.
No problem. So one of the things that I learned in my journey in property investing, last time when I start doing, I thought everything needs to be from my own resource. And having everything from my own resource have a certain level of limits. My resource will burn out on it.
Of course.
You buy 1 property, 2 property, you're done here.
Yep.
Then you got to ask yourself, when is the next one? So it's going to take a while. But when you look into breakdowns, when you buy properties, do you need down payment, cash? You need. But then the next question is this thing. Can the cash be from not from your own pockets? Can it be from other people that you want to work with and go into the property journey faster? So your role is to cut short the waiting time. Because property shift based on inflation. And inflation don't wait for you. Every day is inflation. And if you are someone that understands the journey of inflation being the best friend of property, then your role is to get in faster. Then you need to know, break down, if I need cash, can I don't use my cash? Can I use other people's money, which is OPM in short. So this is one of the strategy that most of the people, when we talk about OPM,
scared.
It's a taboo, It's a taboo culture things that most of the people, when hear about this thing, this thing cannot. My parent tell me, never owe that one. So continue work hard, save hard. But look back in the journey. Whatever situations that each individual, the listener are listening now, if the savings model don't works, my invitation is then why don't you look for other alternative? Because if not, it's not going to work in. Yeah, and in my life, your life, we are limited timeline. Make the best use of things that we can do while we are still in the journey here.
Very, very important. Again, one thing that I really believe in is, again, if you want to get to the next level, it's always about leverage, right? Whether it's leverage of time, leverage of resources, leverage of other people's money, other people's talents, for example. If you want to accelerate, you got to think of how I can spend, instead of having 24 hours in a day, how can I have, 100 hours in a day? Instead of having $1,000 in a bank account, how can I amplify by having, $100,000, for example, right? Very, very important. And without that, there's no way you can break through to the next level.
Correct. Totally, 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Even in investing and all that, it's a very important principle that you got to adhere to. But how do you, I think the taboo is because you hear horror stories, right? Of, people come, oh, money, pay money lah, I lose money or whatever it is, right? Like, what are some pitfalls and what should you avoid doing when you maybe want to go down this route of maybe leveraging on other people's capital?
I think there's one thing that the individual must know themselves first. You know, when I shared about the journey of like even the function of OPM, before they execute any of the action, I always tell them about one thing. Is it a games that you want to go in and stay there for the longest? And when you want to do this thing, the integrity level must be very, very high. Do not fall into the trap journey where suddenly if you can do OPM, you probably have people that can work with you. Don't ever feel that now money is easy to come. Because when this kind of feeling come in, the greed level will
increase for sure.
The mindset will, the psychological angle will suddenly change.
Yep.
That was the part that is very dangerous.
Yep.
You got to hold everything firm. What is the amount needed? Once this amount is done, you close the book. Do not go and find that it's easy way money is to raise cash. And because OPM is a function of two directional. It's like a knife. It can help you to leverage it as a form of good leverage to buy properties. But it also can cut you. So there's one thing that you, before getting started, understand your individual self first. Is this a journey that you can play at the highest level of integrity first? If the grids, everything keep coming in, you cannot control for that, this thing is not suitable.
Bro, that sounds like a crypto class.
Oh, really? Really?
It's the same, bro.
Yeah, it's
the
all
same.
risk management.
Yeah,
it's
it's
all
all risk
about
management.
getting balancing.
Yeah.
Don't over gear.
Yep.
Do it right and get it done. This property is started. You move on to the next one. Don't find. I hear people about cases, and I know the
Individuals,
folks
yep.
and what happened. There are people who come in, raise more than what is required, and suddenly lifestyle change. Wow, this kind of thing, very tricky. Right? Your lifestyle change, you buy bigger car and all this thing. This is something that is not encouraged. I always believe you want to have lifestyle stuff. It's definitely okay, no problem. But do not get involved because you're using other people's money to get into your lifestyle. That will probably get a cuts in a sooner or later journey.
I see.
That's my style.
Very interesting.
Correct.
Bro, but you know, your growth is exponential, bro, right? You talk about 5 years, 4,000 and everything.
Yes.
Right? How did you grow at, you know, again, your rate of growth has been phenomenal, right? You know, just now we were having a talk with regards to how you've expanded overseas and built the entire structure. Like, it's really been exceptional, right? Like, I'm talking about you are the top 0.01% right, in terms of growth, right? So, you talk about doing it sustainably and all that, but how do you structure everything in a way such that you could really, really grow at that speed and to acquire so many, because there's so many moving parts, right? So, how do you do it yourself, bro?
No problem. So, so there are a few parts of business that we are running. I run the education function, which is known as Proptiply.
Yep.
So the missions of Proptiply is to educate people in how to do it well in co-living business. And of course, how to improve the speed of getting their residential journey. So this is education function. But we do have the operating function, which is known as Bespoke Habitat. So Bespoke Habitat is my co-living business arm that we house thousands of tenants, which includes working professionals, some local folks, and foreigner students. So before they comes to Singapore, we probably want to give them the best option to consider to stay with us. But how to really scale up this thing? First of all, the business model must make sense. Everybody, when they come into the journey, how are we going to make sure that this unit are able to get it right, enjoy the cash flow, and continue to stack the game. Property is like stacking games. You know, they stack up. And once you have enough cash flow that's coming in, you can easily roll out more and more units. But of course, based on that, we also work with partners, people who are keen to work with Bespoke Habitat. They will take our brands and then go to the owner and speak to them and say, hey, would you be okay to list it to the partners? So once they say okay, the partners will take over the units, but they will let us do the property management part. So my team, I have about 150 full-time colleagues with me now.
Oh, wow.
We are truly 100% vertical integrated.
Wow.
So what does it mean? It means we do not just run co-living as a business. We have the aircon servicing team, handyman team, the cleaning specialists, including some of the pest control. So we are vertical vertical integrated.
Okay.
We are all runs as a team. We
Wow.
don't really outsource. So when we do that, we're able to speed up problems.
Wow.
There are problem that came to us, we are able to solve it quite fast because it's all internal team.
I see.
So when we start to build up the ecosystem, then we stack on one layer, which is technology. Technology is the part that let us scale very fast. Because last time, our customer care team, you need a lot of teams to run 24/7. But with technology and with AI, things can run much faster with lesser resources.
Wow.
Then they allow us to put
Give
in
me
even
examples,
more.
bro. Even in property, tell me
Even
more.
like customer care.
Okay.
You know, you do co-living, for example. Do we have daily things that we need to do? Have one, sure. So many property, your light bulb sure go off.
Sure.
Then your sink sure got problem.
Yeah.
So many property you should
Yeah.
have this problem. But when they lock in the apps, right? And last time is they drop a text to the team.
Yep.
But if the team last time my communication channel when we don't have much technology, is all in WhatsApp. And you know sometimes WhatsApp you miss the chat one.
Sure.
Then you miss the chat then people talents is not happy.
Yeah.
Then what happen? They
Don't pay rent or whatever.
don't say complain, but they'll give you a Google review.
Yep.
But the Google review hurt us a lot.
Sure.
Because it does affect the whole domino effect of the business.
Yep.
But through the whole changes into tech, now when you drop a text, immediately got people reply on it. Because AI customer care is
I see.
different. They will ask you, hey, what is the problem? Then they will give you the drop down list. If it's an aircon issue, then they will prompt in furthermore.
Wow.
Is it not cold or whatever thing? So they will diagnose to the lowest, to the finest point,
Okay.
and immediately, right, they route to the aircon team.
Wow.
Hey, this one, you streamline the whole process. You get faster, you get better.
Incredible.
Then the whole Google review also improve.
I see.
We also have a crash in our Google review before.
I see.
Last time when we are all 100% human engagement, we don't have app. We are using Excel sheet. We are
I see.
using all these things to track.
I see.
Then there's a point of time where we dropped to 3.6 Google review.
Wow.
So that was very sad because 3.6, what is the domino effect as a business? There are tenants, the prospective tenants that want to come in,
Yep.
sign the tenancy agreement,
Yep.
suddenly go and read Google review. Hey, actually I'm very worried about your property. Can I pull out or not? Wow, this one give us a very big feedback.
Of course.
So then after that we start to emphasize on customers' experience and
Yep.
everything. And then slowly we beef it up to 4.6 today. 4.6 out of 5. So we are also probably one of the only co-living companies that truly dare to put Google review on. But if you're going to put in a lot of property
Of course,
management,
of course.
a lot of them also don't dare to put Google review.
Of course, for
because
sure, bro.
everybody can whack on
Yeah,
whack you and
Yes, they
drop
will
your
find
text.
ways only to whack, lah, right?
But that's why every time we want to keep increasing and to keep scaling up, right? SOP, everything is important. And we are if I'm not wrong, we are the first Singapore co-living companies that get ISO 9001 that
Interesting.
is certified.
Okay.
Correct. So the processes, everything has been tightened up through technologies and everything.
Interesting, bro.
Yeah,
Well,
so with
even
that, then you
technology,
can
it's good
scale
to hear how, even for yourself, your business, how AI is really helping you to really streamline the entire business.
Hey, buddy, you know one thing that is coming up?
Tell me.
It's called the real customer care calling up. So if the tenants that is wanting to speak to someone else as a warm body, they can trigger the call. About 15 seconds, your phone will ring. And then the person will speak to you, hey, hi, your name, is there any issue that I can help you? After you talk already, you thought it's a real guy, right? Actually, it's an AI guy.
Wow.
Wow, when I see the whole thing, wow, I'm totally impressed, man,
Wow.
of how things... So
Are you
it's-
integrating that already?
Yeah, it's on the way already.
Wow.
So when they press and they got triggered by someone else, the customer care will call. I mean, as a tenant, right, if you have a problem, right, you at least you feel good also.
Yeah.
Hey, I call you 15 minutes, you tell me, and then 15 seconds, you call me back, and then you tell me what are the things you're going to take note.
I see.
Can I speak to the team?
Okay.
We'll come back to you on the schedule. Hey, the whole experience will improve.
Interesting. Bro, I want to ask you, so again, you are known as the, your specialty and what people know you in Singapore for is as the co-living king, right? Like, you're the co-living guy, lah, right?
Very passionate, very
Yes,
passionate
for
about this
sure.
thing.
So that's your niche, that's your specialty, and obviously, it's not just talk, lah. Walao, 4,000, you obviously have a lot of experience, right?
Experience a bit.
So, a bit, bro, I don't know about a bit, but a lot, lah, right? So, what is the trend of co-living, right? Because, a lot of people got into it, then there were issues. I know recently, last few years, rentals have been dropping a bit because I experienced it myself, right? As a landlord, was crazy in
High,
20,
drop a
high, then drop, came down a bit, right? So what's the trajectory for it, right? Is there still a market for this? Sure, people will live together and stuff, but what's the trajectory for it, and what should people like watch out for? What are some, what was the trajectory for co-living in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
No problem. So a few things that is coming as patterns. So one thing, because enterprises, the large enterprises of hiring process, some of the people, they felt that the retrenchment cycle and all this thing. So it will affect the hiring of the employments. I would say yes. In terms of employments itself, people who stay in the co-living function in Singapore, it will see a slow decline in that perspective, because we are serving a lot of foreigners friends. So when they are no longer have so-called a career or job, they probably have to go and leave Singapore. So this portion, there's a decline that we are seeing.
You're saying, okay.
However, there's another increment that we are seeing, which is the students part.
Interesting.
So you see, so this is something that is interesting also. When you always find a balancing model. When especially let's say the US and the China relationship, the tensions and all these things. What happens when in last time the students in China they want to go to US to study, but suddenly because of the tension part, some of them decided to divert it into another option.
Interesting.
Then they are looking for a bilingual country which is also a good school, and suddenly Singapore stand out because we have NUS and NTU. This one is really nation proud one. When we talk about NUS, NTU, their ranking is really at top level. And people start to come in. So they don't go US, they come here. So in the end, the balancing model still balance. We have increase in student, but we have drops in working professional. But in long run, I don't think this thing will be ongoing. The economy is always up and down. It cannot be down for the longest. There's always up and down. So when it's down, the students went up. But when it's up, then probably the employments will come in again. And in terms of cycling of hiring, right, for the trend pattern that I see, there's always retrenchment going on, but there's always rehiring also.
I see.
Especially for a large company, when financial, they need to close the financial year, right? Numbers must looks good. Expense need to reduce. Then the cycle of retrenchment come in. Then after the reporting, investment relationship done with it, and then the hiring start coming back.
You notice that trend,
I noticed the trend. I saw the trend coming. To them, it's like a recycling process. They probably, some of them is the higher payroll was being removed, and then they rehire someone probably about 30-ish, and then re-coming again and push it up again.
Well, it's very interesting you mentioned about NUS and NTU, right? And you also mentioned that August is going to be a busy month for you and everything. Can you explain which part of your property, the entire segment, why August is going to be busy?
Because the intake for the bachelor programs, there is two major intakes. I would say July periods when they start to slowly come in, and of course also in January period. So there's two periods that's always very busy. During the time like last year, we have we loaded just for the students. We loaded about near 500 rooms in just 1 month.
Wow!
So 500 rooms, it breaks all our bones on it.
Wow!
Imagine every day, you know this. Wow, a lot of people come in, and they don't come in on like 7 or 8 of the month. They either come in 1st of the month or 15th of the month.
I see.
So can you imagine the people they need to come in on the 1st and the 15th.
Very busy.
The whole team like go there 𝗕𝗿liche.
Wow.
To really support the whole thing. And we are expecting to support about 600 plus for this upcoming one.
Wow.
Correct. Because we really have the projection, and we really do different outreach of our marketing approach. Last time, we only markets to local. When let me rephrase. What I mean, we market locally when people are in Singapore. But then we found that it's a wrong approach. We need to do one step further. We need to market in their in-country before they come to Singapore.
I see.
So now we are marketing at, let's say, China. We really got all the
小红书,
students. 小红书. Then all my colleagues doing 小红书 engagement. So we are now reaching to in-country. And they book the rooms before they come. Oh wow! So we are one step even much faster to get the market share. So that is how we eventually can do about 600 for this upcoming July August period.
Wow, amazing, bro! good opportunity at SIT as well coming up soon.
We are ongoing looking around,
Ah.
also expanding. Of course, we also reach out to other country.
Mm.
Other than the co-living, we are runs in Singapore, Malaysia, and also UK. We started Thailand in our Airbnb.
I see.
Correct. So, but it's a very different approach. We don't do co-living in Thailand yet, but we started Airbnb approach.
Airbnb now.
Yeah, we took down those very nice villa.
Wow.
Villa those that have swimming pool.
Yep.
Thailand, because the
Which part of Thailand, bro?
Bangkok,
Okay.
Sukhumvit area, Ashok area.
Okay.
So these are the place where people come in to really enjoy.
I see.
So we reach to a target market where people don't want to stay in hotel. The reason because as a friend, they want to hang out.
Of course.
To meet up,
yes,
I got 5-6 bunch of
Surely,
friends. I want to stay in maybe 5-6 bedroom.
Yep.
But in hotel don't have living hall.
Yes.
They don't have swimming pool.
Yeah.
So now we found a very nice niche that get people to hang out and eventually stay around there.
Interesting.
And one interesting data that I see. Interesting maybe is the wrong word. I take back my words. Something happened because Thailand recently of the
China kidnapping.
the earthquake and
earthquake.
everything. Correct. And suddenly the people that stay in hotel booking, they don't want to book those high rise one.
I see.
They go to the low
For
rise
real?
one.
Seriously?
The villa one.
Wow.
Suddenly all the villa book. So then we are thinking, why what happened? Then we start to understand, it's because of this thing. People don't want to stay high rise. They go into the low rise one. Wow, it's a trend.
Wow.
Yeah, but of course a lot of things happen in Thailand. We hope that everything is fine. But it's just things that we see as data.
Bro, okay, I got so many questions, bro. Okay, the first question which I want to dig your brains into is, very huge development in Singapore is RTS. Right, this is one of the biggest things. Talking about Woodlands, JB. I hear different points of view with regards to how seamless it's going to be, right? But if it's really going to be like freaking taking MRT to go to Malaysia, right? Wow, is that going to affect rentals, especially from Malaysians, right? Because if it's so simple, I go to Malaysia, it's so much simpler. Will Singaporeans start moving out to go to JB, right? Will Malaysians say, I don't want to rent anymore, let me just stay in JB because it's going to be so easy, ma. I don't have to wake up 5 o'clock, Causeway Jam. A lot of people do that currently right now. But if it's going to be so easy, then it makes more sense to just go there because it's going to be cheaper, right? Like, what are some potential things we need to watch out for, especially with this very, very big development coming up soon?
RTS is definitely a good thing in general.
Okay.
To me, it's definitely a good thing. I will look into a few angles of parts first. First part, if we are talking about co-living in Singapore, I don't think you will really affect much from there because the nationality that is staying in my unit, I don't have much on Malaysian.
You don't have much Malaysians.
Yeah, I don't
so
have
if people
really
have a lot of Malaysians, then how?
Again?
If people have a lot of Malaysians, will that be?
Then the Malaysian, most of them, when I see, most of them they rent places like the HDB, the whole unit, or maybe the rooms in the HDB. That's in terms of data. I'm just referring to data.
Okay, sure.
And from the data point of view, right? So there will be a chance that they probably wants to travel to and fro. But I don't really feel that it will change too much because people still need to be here to do things. Especially the work from home is also slowly coming back to a hybrid model.
Okay.
People are expected to come back to office and until one day we truly see 100% work from home. We don't know when, even the government is pushing, but when this thing will happen, we probably have to watch and see what's the results. But if this thing is not going to be firm, 100% hard built on this thing, it will still be there one. But the RTS, what does it help? It helps on the opportunity for us, right? Because when we see this thing coming, so that's where we started our co-living in Malaysia. We saw the journey because people who wants to come in to work, right, they still don't want to stay in Singapore, most of them, because the rental is really expensive. They still want to go back on. So the RTS will help in the commute portion. So where's the rise in the opportunity for us in the co-living function? It will be near those stations, near CIQ area, that we serve a group of Malaysian. They are non-Johorian. They are people that are in Sabah,
Of course.
in Kedah.
So this is Malaysia lah.
Yes.
I see.
So what I see as opportunity is that's the reason why we started Malaysia. We start building into Johor co-living
I
units.
see.
So we host people that wants to come to stay in Johor and then work in Singapore one. Then they can travel to and fro.
Yep.
Then the opportunity grow quite a fair bit.
I see.
Correct.
So are you renting to rent, or are you buying up like properties, or what?
I'm not really buying property because we are light assets business.
I see.
We do rent to rent, but
Okay.
in the Johor side, slightly different.
Okay.
The approach is when we speak to developers, right? There are some, we come in as a solutions play for them.
Okay.
Why do I say that? Because when, you know, in Johor, they have some units that only allocates to Bumi and they are not able to sell on time.
Okay.
When they are not able to sell, right, nobody is staying there, nobody is going to pay maintenance, the property is going to be run down. Or very badly, when I go in there first time, when I want to take over the unit, the swimming pool water is green one.
Yeah,
then I
I've seen that
thinking,
before.
wow, this one can stay, man. Then I start to ask them, why is it not like clean? Then they say, because the maintenance fund not enough.
Yep.
So then we come in as a solutions to developer.
Okay.
We go in and say, hey, why don't you rent to us? Since it's empty,
Yep.
then you rent to us first. Then we pay you rental, you can cover maintenance, and then the whole buildings will be nicely done up.
Yep.
So in the end, we took down like the whole stack.
Wow.
And then we go in, and indeed, after we done out the whole thing, we load people in. You know, people is like energy. The zone, the project, suddenly got energy already.
Wow.
Then the maintenance start coming. Swimming pool become blue already, the water become nicer. Then the grass is being trimmed. Then you start to see the whole life come back again. So in the end, this is how we go in one. It's a very different approach.
Interesting.
In Singapore, it's different. Singapore is, we speak to individual landlords. They probably only have one unit or so. But in Malaysia, it's by stack one.
Interesting.
One stack, two stack.
Bro, you're not an entrepreneur, right? Investor, as in an entrepreneurial investor.
I like investing as a function in property, but I also like doing business.
Yeah, but it's true, right? Like, this is a way in which you are truly adding value, correct, right? You are really adding value. You are looking, going to developers, seeing, hey, this is your problem, let me come in and solve, right? It's not just parking money and then zao, whatever it is, right? You're doing that, you're able to add value, and then more people come in, you also make money, everybody wins, in that sense.
And the property become lively now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go in there, people see, they also like it. And people want to stay. And when people want to stay and all this thing, right, when the developer want to sell the property next time, they have higher chance.
Yeah, of course, for sure. Because there's more energy, you bring back life into it.
It's a cycle one. It's a full cycle.
Interesting. Bro, and this comes down to one of my very critical questions, right? So now we're talking about Malaysia. So it ties up beautifully, right? So I've invested extensively Singapore, Malaysia, UK, Australia, a few different places around the world, right? None of my investments have yielded returns like in Singapore, right? Personally. So I have this, it's like, I just want to ask you, right? So again, wow, you see so many advertisements, invest in Dubai, invest in wherever, right? When I first started many years ago, I tell you, my Facebook was flooded with invest in Philippines, invest in Vietnam, Cambodia, and all these different things. And the whole point of view was, it's cheaper to get started and all that, right? So one of my first few investments was that because it was indeed cheaper, right? But many of them didn't turn out very good, right? Got a lot of issues, and then
I also have same experience.
Right? It really kena burn here and there. After that, I cannot take loan. I don't really own it. Bunch of crazy stories, bro, right? And again, the truth of the matter is that I never really go and see the property. I don't really know what they are and stuff like that. Also, I just park my money and stuff like that, right? So I've made that mistake before, right? So, man. So a lot of Singaporeans want to invest. They're like, I want to invest in property. Singapore, a little bit far, right? So I'm looking to overseas, for example, right? But then again, for me, I'm quite cautious, because I kena before, right? So I think a lot of people might be the same, right? So for you, when you're venturing right now, like, what's in your checklist? Like, how do you know whether it's okay, and how do you do it, bro? Especially when you're not local there.
You mean overseas property?
Yeah, overseas property.
Buying overseas property.
Yes.
But can I tell you what I feel first?
Tell me, please.
So first question, I've always want to share with my community and all this thing. I always tell them, actually, Singapore still got a lot of chance one.
Sure.
A lot of things can do one. If you have not done more than what you think that is enough already, still got a lot of things one. We always say the goal is just 3 feet under.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ground,
I believe that.
You dig, you're almost there already. So don't give up. First thing, don't give up Singapore.
Okay.
Because the few things that I always feel that Singapore is still a very good place. I go to a lot of other country. The landscaping and everything as compared to maintenance. Every time I come back Singapore from the airport, I took the car back to my home. I always felt that Singapore is the best country.
Absolutely. I agree, bro.
Clean.
I agree.
So first thing, do your very best in Singapore first.
Okay.
If you have settled your own residential property as investing,
Yep.
because each of us, we have one, I call it the golden ticket, to buy a properties without ABSD, additional buyer stamp duty.
Yep.
If you're a married couple, you have two.
Yep.
So make wisely of your two golden tickets first. But if you settle your residential already, don't give up. You still have a lot of alternative investing solution. Example, commercial and industrial. There's still things that you can consider into that space and then go into and build your wealth creation there. And after all these things you done already, you say you really have a lot of extra cash already. Okay, then you want to look overseas, no problem. Then you consider overseas.
Okay.
But those countries that you mentioned, this one no perspective, which one is not good, not putting down on whichever asset class, but on my personal experience, I've experienced in Malaysia, experience in Thailand, Cambodia, and also UK and Singapore. I have these 5. The one that stand out best so far is, other than Singapore, is the UK market. So in UK, what I did is we took down commercial unit, which is a good size commercial unit. Because of the valuation is low, what we did is we filed for a permit to convert it into a residential class. So there's one units that we have, we make it down into 18 residential units.
Wow.
When you make it into 18 residential units, right, what happens is this. We actually renovated the whole place, subdivide it nicely with permissions, with permits. And when the rental come in, right, the rental is higher than the commercial rental. So when the rental increase, the valuation also increase. Because remember, when valuation increase, you can actually take out your equity loan. When you can able to take out equity loan, the amounts that I took it out, right, is about 75 to 80% of what I put it in. So it's almost free already. I almost got it for free already. So UK, this kind of strategy, we call it 𝗬𝗲 strategy. So 𝗬𝗲 strategy is actually quite common in UK.
I see.
And if you want to practice this kind of thing, UK is one of the best place to follow. Because you know, Singapore also follow British.
With people who say and come in with the objection of, well, but so far away, do I need to fly there? You know, spend money to go there and all that. Yes, no. Can I do it remotely from Singapore and stuff?
You definitely can do remotely one. I will say that every property journey, including whether you're in Singapore or overseas, you need to build your own A-team. A-team referring to, for example, like convincing lawyers, your agents, your letting teams, and everything. You need to find your A-team. Once you slowly build your A-team, right, it could be a trial and error one. I also have my own trial and error. This team cannot change. Then until this team can work then I will form my own ace team.
I see.
Then you can scale already. So you need to find the ace team from there on.
I see.
That's why when the community comes to us and say, then what kind of ace team do we have? Yeah, it's all built up already. You just reach out to them. They will be able to service you. Then you just write on. So just build up. Once you have the ace team, don't worry that it's far. Now with internet, right, the world is flat. So it's no longer like going to be far. Just take it as it's a journey to go through.
I see. Brother, there's so much to glean from your wisdom. Right, you are not just a talker; you're a real practitioner, right? Like managing so many units and everything. I think there will be a lot of so much of ability for people to learn and actually really glean from your experience and your teams and everything. Right? I'm sure you have, the entire ACE team, for example, to recommend, right, the best lawyers, contractors, whatever lah. You're probably already doing it. You can probably refer people and help them a lot faster in their journey, right? So, like you mentioned, the reason why I always believe in, education, and always the reason why I believe in mentors, for example, is because they are there to shortcut your journey, lah.
Totally agree.
You want to do yourself, you do until your head break, and then it will cost you a lot more money, right? It costs you so much more money, right? So again, how can people be able to leverage their expertise to know their first steps and contacts and all these things? How can they reach out to you and how can they find out?
I would say in different vertical of stuff. For example, like the residential journey. Most of the people will want to start off with a residential journey because that's the number one thing that I won't give it to you. I want golden ticket. So for people who want to find out, like, hey, if you want to speed up the whole journey, you don't want to go through the normal models of work hard, save hard, then buy property one. Then you probably can come into a space that we call it a residential acceleration program. In short, we call RAP. RAP is all about speed. Because you see property price move very fast.
Of course.
So you got to find ways to how to speed up. So I've been serving about a few thousands communities member
Wow.
who come into the rap journey, and I see their changes.
Mm.
I share with them very openly on how a guy like me who started in HDB, because I come from slightly below humble family. Why do I say that? Because my mom, when I was 13, she was diagnosed with muscle dystrophy, meaning that she lost all her muscles.
Yeah.
So she can't go to bathroom, and she can't support herself, and every day she's in pain. At that time, age 13, right? So my world started to change. Suddenly, have to start working in newspaper delivery boy.
Wow.
Yeah, for 7 years.
Wow.
Then before I go to army, so I know that it's really tough. But everything happened for a reason. My mom incidents allowed me to become more matured about thinking. So I really, even though my mom is no longer with me, but I want to share that a guy like me with slightly below humble family can make a change in life, right? Then everybody should be able to do it.
Yep.
It's only that the clarity is not there.
Yep.
Clarity means that how can the whole journey be pointing to like a guided process? I always say in my sharing, right, everybody who come in here, I always say this thing, there's no guru in our environment. We are only a guide.
Wow.
My role is to become the guide to you.
Yep,
I can
yep.
point to you a few directions. Probably you don't need to go through that kind of journey that you bleed and all this thing. Wow,
Yep.
very painful one.
Yeah, of course,
You
of
and
course.
I have probably gone through that phase.
Definitely.
Very painful one. It could
Yep.
be a 6 figures, it could be a near 7 figures
Yep.
kind of lessons. So from there, people can come in and start to learn from, actually from individual guy who own public housing, how to shift it up to a private and eventually to landlords or even more. I did the same strategy. I apply it in my own life. So I bought my own landlord from there for my own stay.
Yep.
Then my wife also bought one.
Okay.
So we bought one each.
Okay.
And however, property got in cash flow components is known as liability and assets.
Yep.
So if you're going to buy a properties, it could be a liability if you're going to stay there.
Yep.
So what we did is we strategized it nicely. One of the property, which is my wife landed,
Yep.
we make it into a co-living function,
I see.
like 6 studio and 2 common rooms.
Wow.
The total rental collected from there can cover the mortgage and still have positive cash flow in it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it becomes an assets class.
Wow.
So in Singapore, you buy property, become assets. It's quite happy on it.
For sure.
But the assets is quite a fair bit. Then it can cover my portion of my mortgage.
Wow, sweet,
So with 2 landed combined, my net after CPF deduction everything, my outflow is about less than 3K.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite good.
That's crazy,
Took
bro.
2 landed.
Walao, seriously.
So it's really about having clarity what can be done. Just slowly, step by step, do that. But you speed up through the rep strategy. Teach you how to speed up the whole thing. People who are keen can find out a bit more from this journey.
Wow,
then come in and
incredible.
join the community if they want to.
Wow. I think that's something that you should really explore, right?
Yeah.
So guys who are wanting to go down this journey with Ernie, the link is down below, right? If you guys are interested in the journey together, Ernie, I think it's very important, guys. Right? Very
Happy
very
to,
important.
to serve and to provide the clarity, sir.
That's great.
Because when I'm much younger, I'm also looking for this program myself.
yeah.
Which is why I did up one.
Yep.
Because this is a younger version of what Ernie need.
That's beautiful.
So I
man.
did up exactly the same thing of what I need last time.
Fantastic. So again, guys, if you all have found value in everything that Ernie is sharing, right? Make sure you all click the link below. Follow him on his journey, on socials, on anything anything and everything, right? His rap program and everything. I think I would highly encourage it, right? I've seen him grow like wow, it's quite insane, right?
Thank
so
you
I'm
very
very
much.
very happy for your success, brother.
Also see
Right.
your growth, very good.
Yes, thank you.
We're going to
man,
work
thank you.
hard on this thing, serving more communities and let's grow the community space.
Absolutely, bro. One last question
Can.
to wrap up the entire thing, right? For somebody who's watching this journey, watching this interview, this podcast, and who's wanting to start out, right? What's the one golden piece of advice you leave with them, to really accelerate this journey?
Wow. If you ask me
Yep.
one thing, you better just do it first.
Yep.
Then you enjoy the fruits on the later parts.
Mm.
Property is like that. A lot of people are scared to do things because they don't have clarity.
Yep.
But my take is, come and learn and get the clarity first.
Okay,
Then you dare to execute.
of course.
And once you execute it, right, let the property do the work already.
Mm.
Property with inflation, they are the best friend. You just let them do the work.
I see.
Buddy, you bought your property also, right?
Yeah.
So what have you done with your property? You just buy and let it be there. Right?
Yeah.
Then tie up already, you let go, you exit with some, right?
Yeah.
So property, that's the best thing about property, man.
Yeah.
So one advice in property journey, with clarity, you better go and do it, and then let the economy do the works.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy throughout.
Enjoy the wave, huh?
Yeah, just enjoy. Nothing. There really nothing much to do. You buy already. Either you rent, you collect rent. That's it. Right? You stay, you continue stay, take care of the house. That's it. Let the economy do the work, man.
Amazing. Dude, thank you so much for sharing. I really enjoyed it, right?
Thank you,
Again,
buddy.
guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you all click on the link, go for his program and whatever not. And again, make sure you follow Ernie on his journey as well, right? Thank you very much, guys. If you all have enjoyed this, make sure you like this video, comment down below if you have any questions for Ernie, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. See you guys on our next podcast.
Take care, man. Take care.
Hey guys, I'm so blessed to be able to share these inspiring stories of remarkable people with you. Please support us by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, right? These likes will help us know what videos you want to watch more of. So again, thank you and see you in another video.